I went to work for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee as the senior investigator. And as part of that job, you have lunch with foreign diplomats all the time, several times a week. And you talk about the news of the day, what happens to be going on in the world of diplomacy. And so I got a call from a Japanese diplomat, and he invited me to lunch. And so I met with him, and to the best of my recollection, had a delightful lunch. We talked about Israeli elections and Turkish elections and the peace process and things like that. Totally normal luncheon conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the conversation, he said to me, "So what's next for you?" And I said, "Well, I think I'm just about ready to resign. I promised John Kerry I'd give him 2 years, and it's been 2.5, and I'd like to go back into the private sector." And very excitedly, he said to me, "No, don't do that. I can give you money if you give me information." And I said to him, "Shame on you."
That sounds like trouble. That really sounds like...
I said, "You know how many times I've made that pitch in my career? Shame on you."
Mm-hmm.
And I got up and I walked out. I went directly to the office of the Senate Security Officer. And I said, "I was just pitched by a foreign intelligence officer. I want to report it." And so he said, "Okay," and he had me sit at a standalone computer there, and I wrote a memo to the FBI, and I said I had been approached by a foreign intelligence officer. 2 days later, the FBI comes to see me, and I meet with 2 young agents, and I repeated the story, told them what had happened, and they said, "Well, here's what we want you to do. We want you to call him back and invite him to lunch and try to get him to tell you exactly what information he wants and how much money he's willing to pay for it." I said, "Okay." I said, you want me to wear a wire or something?" They said, no, we'll just be at the next table. And then the day of the lunch, they canceled and said, "Something came up, just do the lunch without us and write us another memo." So I did the lunch, I wrote the memo. They asked me to do that a 3rd time and a 4th time and a 5th time. And finally, in the 5th lunch, this diplomat said, "Well, I've been transferred to Cairo. It's my dream job. I'm going to be the deputy ambassador." I said, "Congratulations, safe travels." I shook his hand, and I left. And I, of course, reported that back to the FBI. Well, after my arrest, when we received discovery from the Justice Department, we realized that there never was a Japanese diplomat. He was an FBI agent undercover, and he was trying to trick me into committing real espionage. And the reason the FBI was doing that was because they intended to charge me with espionage, but they knew I hadn't actually committed it.
So they were trying
to getting me to really commit it for real.
Entrap you.
Yeah, it was entrapment. But that's what the FBI does. I mean, you look at these terrorism cases that they so proudly trumpet, and they're all just idiots who were entrapped. They very rarely actually protect us from anybody.